Hey guys, it's Ernesto. Welcome back to another Monday critique. I hope you're having a fantastic Monday. I'm having a great Monday. I want to thank Ben, who did an awesome job with the Monday critique takeover. Thank you very much, Ben. I appreciate all your efforts that you put into that video. If you guys haven't seen my video that I announced earlier this week, check it out right here. I'm going to be away for the early part of May, and I'm looking for some folks to take over the Monday critique videos. I don't want to miss a gap. I don't think I will have enough time to do it, so I'm looking for someone out there, one or two people, because it's going to be for 2 weeks, that I need someone to basically take over. I already asked Ben. Ben said he's going to step up to the plate and he's going to do one, so I'm looking for another person to actually do another Monday critique video. And I also want to see if you guys have some awesome feedback that you want to give. Now, I know some folks have been very helpful in putting some great feedback down below. So you guys who've been putting those great feedbacks down below and also been putting some great feedback in the Facebook group, come on guys. I know you're out there. So I know you want to step up to the plate and help me out. Submit those videos and let's get these Monday critique takeovers going. The reason for the video, just so you know, is just so I can see your personality on video. That is all. So, you know, just say hi, what do you do, who you are, and we will go from there. I just want to see how you interact on video. And that's it, that's all you have to do. And I'll get in touch with you. Just let me know how I can reach you. And once I can get in touch with you, I will let you know exactly the steps that you need to take and how we will go about recording this Monday critique video. So I'm not going to go into those instructions here. That's not what we're here for. We are here for 2 wonderful images that we're going to review today. So after this intro, I will jump straight into this image critique. If you guys want to submit your image to be critiqued, please join our Facebook group. It's called Fine Art Photography and Modeling. In that group, I created a specific thread where you could submit your images to be critiqued. All right, guys, welcome back. Let's jump straight into this first image because, look, this image is pretty awesome and I think it's going to be pretty quick. So, this image was submitted by this gentleman. Thank you very much for submitting your image. I believe he's out of Mexico. So thank you very much for submitting your image. Now let's talk about it. So the first thing we're going to talk about is light. So now let's talk about what he did with respect to the light and the subject. So what he found, it appears to me, is a tunnel. It looks like a tunnel to me. If it's not, let me know, but it looks like a tunnel. Now, the great thing about using tunnels is you could put your subject right at the edge of the tunnel, right before the actual direct sunlight hits the subject so they can get some of that shade. And if you have concrete on the floor, that sunlight will come and hit on the concrete and then bounce up into your subject's face, creating a nice, soft light. So that's what I think we have going on here with this particular image. We have some nice soft light hitting the subject. So if that's what you did in this image, that's very good use of what I call tunnel light. I don't know if I'm the first one to use that, but that is pretty awesome. I really like how you use the light in this image. The only thing I would say with respect to the light that I would love to see a little bit more of in this image is some shadow. Having nice soft light is awesome, but also having a little bit of shadow helps. And the reason for that is because it creates a little bit of depth and dimension in the image, giving it more of that 3D effect. So that is the only thing that I would love to see in this image, just a little bit more shadow. But over and above that, look, you did an awesome job with the lighting. Like I said, it's gonna be quick. All right, now let's move on to the pose. From a posing perspective, you did an awesome job with the posing. I don't know if it was you or your subject, but you guys connected really well with this pose. So you have a great body language, have great connection, you have great expression. I mean, what else do you need in this image? There's really nothing else do you need. So this is a pretty awesome image. I love it. Thank you very much for submitting it once again. So the pose is awesome. I don't think I need to say that anymore. So let's move on. All right, so now let's move on to the composition. So from a compositional perspective, I love the way he framed the subject in this shot. The tunnel helped frame the subject. I even like the little light in the back of the subject because that helps create a little bit of separation. So that's pretty awesome. I love the way you framed up this shot. Now, the only thing that I noticed that's just a little bit off is the focus. The focus appears to be on camera right. So if you look at the wall that she's leaning on, you will notice that wall is a little bit sharper than our subject. If you look closer at our eyes, you will notice that the eyes is not that in focus. So that's the only thing that's a little bit off with respect to the composition. Other than that, I love the way you framed it. And I understand why you kept it because it's a pretty cool composition, it's a pretty cool expression. So awesome job with that. The only thing I wish is that it wasn't focused a little bit more. That's my only pet peeve. That's it. All right, guys, there's just one more thing I want to say about this image. And it's just, I won't even mention it in the rating part, but I just want to mention it really quickly here. So, and that is about post-production. In this image, it could use just a little bit of contrast. Right now, it appears to be a little bit flat, and a little bit of contrast would help this image like this. So just like that, I think if you add just a little bit more contrast, this image would be better. So just add a little bit more contrast and you're good to go. All right, guys, let's move on to image number 2. This image was submitted by this gentleman, Glenn. Thank you very much for submitting your image. I sincerely appreciate it. All right, so Glenn have a very creative portrait here. Now, there's one thing I want to mention really quickly here. When creating these types of portraits and you're working with clients, these types of portraits I generally reserve for the tail end of the photo shoot. Like you try to get the main shots out of the way. Like you try to get like the head shots, the full body shots, the main bread and butter shots that you need to get for your subjects. You know, if they're paying you or if you're just basically playing around. But you try to get those basic shots out of the way first. And then you try to do like these creative shots, like if you have time after the fact. So if you're a new photographer out there, don't feel like when you go on a photo shoot that, hey, this is the first thing that you need to go and do, get these creative, awesome shots. No, you basically want to get those essential shots out of the way first, the head shots, the full body shots, whatever the main shots you need to get, the reason for the photo shoot. If they're there to hire you for you to do like family portraits and stuff, you get those basic shots out of the way because that's what they're paying you for, that's what they hire you for. Once you get that out of the way, then if you have more time, you could then start to get creative and play around like how Glenn did in this particular image. All right, so let's start with light in this image. In this image, Glenn used an ice light to help light the subject, which is great. I love ice lights. I have one. I just can't afford to buy the other one right now, which is the ice light 2. But that's what he used. It really doesn't matter what light you use, it's just whatever light you have, use it. Now, if you look at the subject's eyes, there's a nice little catch light in the subject's eyes. So, you know how I love my catch lights. Awesome job with that, Glenn. Now, some people may argue that the catch light should be circular as opposed to, long, because the ice light light source, it's a strip of light. So basically what you would have in the subject eyes is a strip of light as opposed to it being circular. I really don't care. I just like some sort of light in the subject eye to help give the eye life. And that's really sometimes all that matters to me from a viewer perspective. So let's talk about some other things that's going on here with respect to the light in this image. So we have the foreground and the background. Background being our subject, foreground being the stairs. On the stairs, you can notice that there's a little bit of high concentration of light on the top portion of the stairs. That just needs to be brought down just a little bit. That light on the stairs is just a little bit overexposed. So I would suggest in post probably bring that light down just a little bit, or if you were shooting, when you were shooting this on site, I would angle the light a little bit more so it doesn't hit the top of that stairs the way it is, so that it won't draw so much attention to it from a viewer perspective. So those are the two things that I would do with respect to that light hitting the stairs. You know, in post, you could reduce it a little bit, or if you were shooting, when you were shooting it on site, just angle the light a little bit down so that it's not hitting the upper part of that stairs that much. And I think with those changes, it would help reduce the attention that that upper stairs is getting. So another thing with respect to this image and the light is, if you look at the subject, the light just appears to be a little bit flat on the subject. So if you want depth and dimension in your image, what you generally look for is a good transition of light to shadow, shadow to light. So what I'm looking for in this image is the shadow parts. So I'm not really seeing much on the subject as respect to shadows. I'm not seeing much shadows on the subject. So on the short side of the face, not the broad side, but on the short side of the face, I'm not really seeing that much shadow. So to me, the image just appears a little bit flat from a lighting perspective. So the only thing I would suggest if I was gonna shoot this image is just to bring the light a little bit more to camera left, so that you're shooting on the shadow side of the face, which is the short side of the face. And I think by doing that, it would help add a little bit more depth and dimension to the image from a lighting perspective. Overall, I think it did a pretty good job with the lighting. All right, normally I would move on to the pose, but really and truly there's no posing that's going on here, because the way the shot is composed, it's composed on the subject's face. I mean, you could pose a face, but in this particular case, there's really nothing that you could do with respect to the pose, and this is more about composition and expression. So that being said, let's move on to composition. From a compositional perspective, I think Glenn did a pretty good job in trying to create a very dynamic portrait. So going back to what I was saying at the beginning, this is the time you try to play and you try to create some creative shots. So great job in trying to create a very dramatic shot here, Glenn. So here's what I would suggest with respect to the composition. When I'm looking at this image, first of all, I'm trying to figure out what is it that I'm supposed to be looking at in this image. And I think my focus is supposed to be on the subject eyes in this particular image, because you don't have entire face in the shot. So here's a couple of things that I would suggest. If the focus was supposed to be on the subject's eyes, what I would have done is ask the subject to come in a little bit closer, so the concentration is only on the eyes. So that opening is only on the eyes, right? So if that's supposed to be the focus, so that you won't see the person's mouth and you won't see their nose, you would just see their eyes. And also, if you look at the top right of the frame, the cutting off of the subject's eye is just a little bit distracting. So that's why I would suggest, if the focus is supposed to be on the eyes, bring in the subject closer so that the viewer can only concentrate on the subject's eyes. And I think you would have much more of a connection with the viewers and your image. So another thing that I would say with respect to the composition in this image is, if you wanted the viewer to focus on the subject's face as opposed to the subject's eyes, I would have the subject just move back a little bit more so I can have more of the subject's face in that opening, the stair opening, so that when the viewer is looking at this shot and they're going through the foreground to get to your subject in the background, that they will be able to see the subject's face. Because right now the subject's face is a little bit cut off in places that you don't want it to be cut off at, such as the corner of the eye, and the lip. If you want the viewers to view the person's face, then that's what I would suggest. Have them just move back just a little so that those things that's being cut off is not cut off as much. All right, guys, let's get into the rating of these two images. Lighting. From a lighting perspective, I gave this image a 4. Pose. I gave this image a 5. Composition. I gave this image a 5. Overall, this image received a rating of 4.66 out of 5. All right, guys, let's get into image number 2. Lighting. From a lighting perspective, I gave this image a 3. Pose. Well, there wasn't really any pose, so there's no rating on the pose. Composition. From a compositional perspective, I gave this image a 2. Overall, this image received a rating of 2.5 out of 5. All right, guys. Thank you very much for submitting your images. I sincerely appreciate you guys submitting your images to be critiqued. I hope you got a lot of information from it, and I hope the viewers got a lot of information from it as well. This was pretty short and quick because we had 2 great images, and I have to go and do a workshop later today. So I had to make it a little bit quick, but I still hope that it was informative and, you know, a little bit fun. I hope. So just as a reminder, guys, if you want to do a Monday critique takeover, because I will be away for the first part of May, please hit me up on Twitter, JoePulse, @JoePulse, and submit like a 15-second video of who you are, why you want to do the Monday critique takeover, and once I get that video, I'll just see how you guys are on camera, and we'll go from there. And I'll get in touch with you and let you know how we're gonna do the Monday critique recordings and exactly the steps that you need to take so that it's very easy, right? You guys could be in any part of the world. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to be in North Carolina. You could be in any part of the world and you could do the Monday critique videos. So if you want to help me out, please, please, please hit me up on Twitter, okay? Thank you. That is it. Thank you very much for watching this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, hit that thumbs up button. Share this video with your friends and family. And please put some feedback down below and let me know what you think about this video. And guys, if you got this far in the video, you must be enjoying this content and you must be enjoying this channel. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next Monday.